Hey, I'm Sophie and this is Sophisticated Motherhood, and I created this channel to share with you some of the things I have learned along the way in my journey of motherhood, because it is definitely a learning process and there are so many things that were a struggle for me as a first-time mom, and I want you to not go through those same struggles that I did, and especially in areas where I had difficulty finding resources like pumping on the go. There were so many circumstances that presented themselves in the first year of breastfeeding and pumping that caused me a lot of stress and anxiety because I didn't know how to go about it and how to navigate it. Things like being invited to a bachelorette party trip away from my baby, traveling and pumping and doing all of those things when I necessarily wasn't near a refrigerator. I didn't know where I was going to be pumping, if I could pump discreetly. All of that stuff really caused me a lot of anxiety, and I think I've kind of nailed down my routine of pumping on the go. So I want to share that with you. I'm going to kind of break it down into the pump itself, how I store breast milk, how I clean my pump parts, and all of that stuff. So I think we should start with the pump itself. Now, I do have a Spectra pump that I think you would see over here. It is the one that you don't have to have plugged into the wall, which is great for around the house, but it is big and bulky. It has those large flanges that stick straight out of your shirt. So when you're thinking about discreet pumping, that's definitely not discreet in my mind. While you can have different shirts and stuff that are breastfeeding friendly, like this one that I'm wearing right now that like buttons and unbuttons, having the flanges stick straight out of your shirt is not discreet by any means. So I did invest in the LV pump, and it is quite expensive. I had my insurance cover the Spectra one and paid for this one out of pocket. And honestly, if this is in your budget to get a portable pump like this, I would really do it, especially if you are going to be on the go quite a bit. It was a game changer for me, being able to pump while I drive, pump on a plane, on a train, or whatever. I didn't pump on a train, but I did pump on a plane with this and at work. All of those things. The Willow is another great one. I did a lot of research. I have friends that have both and decided on the LV. I haven't had any technical issues with it really. The only thing I'll say about these and the Willow pump as well is that they are pretty bulky. So when you have them in your shirt, for those that know you, it's probably pretty obvious that there's something in there. The other thing is too, like the LV, see, has a light there. So if you're wearing a thinner shirt, like the light shows through your shirt. So just be conscious of that. If it was the winter time, I would always have like a bigger sweater that I could just kind of like wrap over myself, because I did feel still a little bit self-conscious. But I pumped in so many crazy places with this thing and felt like for the most part, people didn't know the difference. You can hear it if you're in a quiet environment. But one of the places I had to pump on the go was my sister-in-law's wedding. I was a bridesmaid and was away from my baby for a long period of time and was like really stressed about it. It was kind of a tight fit, and I feel like when you are planning your outfits, it is really smart and worthwhile to try things on with the pumps, like in your shirt, in your bra, figure out what bras work best with it. I used some kind of like stretchier bras that weren't as structured to accommodate the pump, that still kept it really tight on my body, because those wearable pumps, it's really important to get like a good seal, and it's not as easy to do that if you have a bra that's kind of gaping. So a tighter one is the way to go. But if you are traveling on a vacation and you are going for multiple days and stuff, try on all of your outfits with the bras that you're going to wear and the pumps, because it is quite limiting to wear those wearable pumps with your outfits. I found it a lot easier to have tops and dresses and things that had sleeves or like pretty thick straps, because strapless styles didn't really work, to have a bra that was supportive enough to make the pumps work, that I felt like was a proper seal again. So keep that in mind. Your outfits still kind of matter just as they do when you're nursing on the go. You can make it easy for yourself by planning those things in advance. So I would look into the LV, look into the Willow. I know they're expensive, but it is a game changer when you're pumping on the go and want to pump discreetly. Talking about where you're actually going to pump, especially if you don't have a portable pump and you need some privacy, even if you do have a portable pump and just want that privacy to pump, or to take your pumps out and pour your milk out into milk storage bags or whatever you're using, I preferred having a little bit more of a private space than a public restroom. So there's an app that you can download and it's called Mamava. I have used this to locate different nursing friendly areas. There are sometimes little pods that are the Mamava brand basically, and they are these isolated pods, and that's exactly what they're meant for, nursing or pumping. Don't be shy if you don't have your baby with you and it's a nursing room. Feel confident going in there. I made so many friends in like nursing rooms when I wasn't even with my baby, but I was just pumping, being a little mixologist there, pouring my milk into storage bags and stuff. But it will help you locate the nearest nursing friendly spot for you, whether you are in an airport or you're shopping at Target or just around town. It will help you find the closest spot. So that app is really handy. It's always growing. It will sometimes show you like a photo. People leave comments and rate how clean it was. There'll be maybe a changing table and a area for you to sit down and nurse your baby if you have your baby with you. But again, don't be shy if you're just using it for pumping. The other thing I had to be really conscious of was my pumping schedule, especially when you're away from your baby for multiple days, for example. It was handy for me to use my phone timer, and I just kept a timer going, like a running timer from when I was away from my baby. Like if I traveled on a trip, I would start the timer. The second I left, I usually breastfed right before I left, so that would start my timer. And then every time I would pump, I would just press the lap button. So it would tell me the last time it had been since I pumped. That way I could kind of keep track of like how often I had been pumping. And it was kind of nice when I was away from my baby. I could see like, okay, I've been gone 30 hours or whatever it was, but also keep track of that schedule. I know some women deal with engorgement, and like that's kind of a biological clock letting you know you need to pump again. But if you are really trying to keep your supply up or just keep on top of that, using your phone timer is a great thing to do. Just let it keep running and press that lap button over and over and over again, depending on how long you are away from your baby. Okay, milk storage on the go. That's probably what stressed me out the most, because I was so worried about not being near a refrigerator a lot of times that I didn't know how I was going to store that milk, if I was traveling for an extended period of time, how I was going to bring all of the milk back. As you know, breast milk is liquid gold, so you don't want to waste a drop. You don't want to leave any of it behind. You don't want any of it to go bad. And right from when you pump your milk, you have 4 hours to get it into a refrigerator. If you're breastfeeding, you probably know that. But certain circumstances, like that bachelorette party that I was invited to, I kept thinking like, okay, if we go out to dinner and then we go out after that, and then they want to go to a bar after that, like how long is that period of time going to be? And how long am I going to be away from a refrigerator? And am I just going to have to like pump my milk and throw it away? The thought of that really upset me. I was never somebody who had an oversupply of milk. I didn't really have an undersupply either. It was just like everything I pumped, for the most part, my baby consumed with just a little bit of extra. So I didn't want any of that milk to go bad. So what I was really conscious of was the purses that I was bringing, first of all. So the purse could fit my wearable pumps. And as I talked about with the bra situation and the outfit, they are thick. So a little tiny clutch might not be the way to go. I had to bring a bigger purse places, which, you know, it is what it is. I didn't necessarily have the best like nighttime clutches going on with me. I had more of a daytime bag at night sometimes, and that was fine. One thing that I found to be very helpful was these packet bags. Now I have two sizes of them. This one is more of like the lunch bag size. This size is their snack size, and I think they have one that's even smaller than this. But what's really great about these is you stick them in the freezer. They have a portion of them. This one does on all three major sides here that actually freezes the container itself. So you don't have to pack extra ice bags in here, ice packs in there. The container itself freezes. So I would freeze this before I left. I could toss this in my diaper bag if I was just gone for my baby for a while. I would even use this if I was bringing a bottle of freshly pumped milk in my diaper bag. So this was really handy. I now even use it that he is eating solids if I'm packing snacks that need to be refrigerated for him. Like I've brought this to the zoo with us and stuff. So it's not just handy for breast milk and stuff. You will use it over and over and over again, even when you're done breastfeeding. So worth the money on this. And the big one, I had this before I was even breastfeeding, before I was a mom, used it as a lunch bag for work. Same thing, it is insulated and you can freeze it. My husband uses it for lunch now to take to work. And then times when I need it for breast milk or for anything else like that, I steal it back from him. I've used this when I've traveled for trips and brought this on the plane with me. Fun fact, if you are traveling, you are actually allowed one extra bag, like a cooler, if you are traveling with breast milk. Make sure to check the TSA guidelines and kind of like know your rights if you are traveling with breast milk. You don't necessarily have to freeze all of your breast milk. You can have breast milk as a liquid. You can even have ice packs in here. If I was gone for a really long time, I would also stick some ice bags in here and like refresh that. So I packed myself some Ziploc bags, and once I got through security or even before security, I would like refresh those. You can have ice and you can bring it through security, all of that stuff. So again, look at the TSA guidelines, know your rights, know that you're able to carry your milk, whether it is frozen or liquid form. You can bring as much as you want. There's no limit on it, and you do get an extra bag. Sometimes it slows you down a little bit, so I would plan a little bit of extra time through security just because some TSA agents are not as familiar with it as others. But beyond that, you should be okay to travel with all of your milk and shouldn't worry about it too much. You don't have to be with your baby, all of that stuff. But these two bags are really helpful. Another thing that I discovered later into my breastfeeding and pumping journey is this Series Chill. This thing is like an insulated water bottle, but meant for breastfeeding. It has a couple of different chambers here. So first it has the large chamber, and it depends on how long you're gone from your baby, how you're gonna wanna use this. It has an inner chamber as well. So you can either use the inner chamber for milk, fill the larger one with ice and water and stick it in this way, and it will keep your milk cold. Or you could do the reverse. If you have a lot more milk and you're gone for a longer period of time, you can pour your milk into here, use ice in this part of the container, and then stick it in like, I don't know, like a popsicle, stick it in there like a big giant ice cube. And this stuff, like insulated water bottles, I'll put on the screen here how long it keeps your milk cold, but it does last a long, long time. And this is great. I wish I would have started using this thing earlier, but again, these packet containers are also a really great option. I will also make sure to link my favorite breast milk storage bags, because when I'm not using the Series Chill, if I'm using the packet containers, I do use just regular breast milk storage bags and stick those in the packet containers. I like ones that have a double seal. You can still always put them in another Ziploc, especially if you have a lot of them and you're shoving them in there and you don't want anything to like burst, or if you by accident didn't seal one completely. Like that happened to me once and milk went everywhere. I was at actually a different wedding and it was a disaster. So trust me, just double bag them. And if one spills, you won't destroy everything else. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about was cleaning of pumps and all of that stuff, because that can be really complicated too. And before we get into the last thing that I wanted to talk with you about, cleaning of pump parts and stuff, I will say it's great to pack yourself or have a pump bag kind of ready where you know all of the things that you need. So those extra Ziplocs that I was just talking about, a pen for marking your breast milk storage bags with the date. I liked to mark the number of ounces, and then some of these other things that I'm going to share with you. It can be helpful to have an extra charger for your portable pumps if you are worried that you need to charge them or they might die. And the other thing I put in there was supplies to clean my pumps. So that's the last thing I wanted to talk about. I always put a couple of napkins or paper towels in there just because milk is so messy. It was less about cleaning the pumps, but more about sometimes like dabbing myself to make sure milk wasn't leaking everywhere, or just kind of like cleaning up if there was a mess. The other thing that I used were these Dapple wipes. These are breast pump wipes, and they're really great for a quick clean of like the flanges and stuff and just wiping those down. I also utilized the fridge hack. If you don't know what the fridge hack is, it is, I don't know, somewhat controversial by some people. Others don't mind and swear by it. A lot of times you want to be able to fully clean your pumps between every single use, but when you're on the go, maybe when you're pumping at work, that's just like not feasible. So a lot of people will put their pump parts into a refrigerator because your breast milk is good in a fridge for 4 days, whereas sitting out on the countertop, it's only good for 4 hours. So if you left your pump out theoretically with milk kind of all over it, it would spoil or expire after 4 hours, whereas if you put it in the refrigerator, it should be good for 4 days. Now, please do not keep using your pump parts without washing them for 4 days, but I think a couple of times through a 24-hour period is probably fine. If you want to sanitize them a little bit more, again, these pump wipes are great for a quick clean, and then you could still put the rest of the parts in the refrigerator, or if you don't have a refrigerator, because we're talking about pumping on the go for the most part, use your little packet container and stick your pump parts in there. I've done that so many times and pumped like a couple of times while they stayed in that cooler. If you do have access to a sink, I bought this little container for all of the things that you could ever need to wash your pump parts. So it actually twists off here, and it comes with a mini container that you can fill with dish soap there, or bottle soap. It comes with a couple of different bottle brushes, a smaller one here, a larger one. It has a handle that attaches to it, a fine tip one, and then once you take everything out, this actually serves as a bottle drying rack. So really, really handy. This I took on trips with me when I was gone for longer periods of time. Even when I was with my baby, if I was traveling at all and had bottles or something like that, it's not just for pump parts, I found this thing to be really handy. Utilize the fridge hack if you are able to. Don't be afraid, again, to speak up for yourself. Let people know that you have breast milk. A lot of times people are willing to like go the extra mile to help you. If there's a refrigerator nearby, like maybe it's just for employees only, but if you ask politely, sometimes people will let you stick something in their fridge. I did that at one of the weddings in the church. There was like some back room with a refrigerator and they let me put my milk in there. Hotels, I did that at the concierge. A lot of times when you use the bellhop and kind of check your bags while your room is getting ready, that happened to me. I got stressed out because my milk had been out of the refrigerator for a long time because I was traveling. I had a layover, just multiple flights. Then we get to the hotel and our room wasn't going to be ready for, I can't even remember, it was like another 4 hours or something crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, all I need to do is just get this milk into a refrigerator. And they had a fridge there. So it just said on my little claim ticket that I had one piece of luggage and one piece of luggage in the refrigerator there. So ask wherever you go, be proud and confident of what you're doing. Breastfeeding is no joke. It is tough stuff. Pumping is also no joke. It is so difficult. So if you are on this breastfeeding and pumping journey, I am so proud of you. I can relate to everything you're going through, and I know it can be stressful and even more stressful when you're on the go. But if you have specific questions, or maybe if you have tips for other moms, I think it would be awesome if you left those things in the comments below so we can all kind of help each other and continue to learn some tips, tricks, and hacks and encourage one another through this journey of motherhood. I am so glad you're here with me, learning as we go, and until next time, I will see you guys later.